Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me. A friend of mine asked me to make an 80th birthday card for a family member, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to show you guys how to make a custom birthday card for pretty much anyone. So to get started, we're going to be using the Streamers Cling Stamp Set from Stampendous. You can get it through Spellbinders. And some mixed media paper from scrapbook.com. This is black, and a ridiculously old die cut set from Quick Cuts. Use whatever you guys have. I don't have a lot of numbers in dies, so this 80 that I cut here out of foiled gold cardstock was perfect. I also have the chunky Seasonings embossing powder from Stampendous. That's probably my favorite embossing powder ever. Not sure if it's still available anywhere. If it is, I will absolutely link it below. But it is something that you can kind of make yourself. If you have a bunch of different colored metallic embossing powders, you can just put them into an empty container, mix them all up, and get a similar effect. When this powder is melted, there's black, silver, gold, and copper bits in it, and you'll see once it's heat embossed how beautiful it is. But you can totally do it yourself if you don't have it, if it's no longer available, etc. So this Streamers stamp set, as you can see, it's a cling stamp, which is fantastic because I love working with rubber stamps. But it's 3 pieces. So there's a streamer on the side that can come out and a little extra confetti. So since we're working on a piece of paper that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and not 6 by 6, the way this cling stamp set is when it's all together, you could just separate those extra pieces out and not have to worry about inking them up. So I've got my stamp platform here from Tim Holtz, and I've got my powder tool. We're going to be embossing, obviously, so you want to make sure that you use that so you don't have any stray bits all over the place. Now, with this Seasonings embossing powder, it's very chunky, so there's less opportunity for stray bits to happen because it's a heavy, thick-grained powder. It's actually called an embossing enamel and not a powder because it is so chunky. So I don't have to worry about stray pieces quite so much. And also, since this type of stamp has like confetti bits all over, if there were a couple of extra pieces, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But either way, it's good to use the embossing powder, like the anti-static powder tool, if you've got it. So I'm applying Versamark ink a couple of times to this stamp. There seems to kind of be a dead zone in my platform. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get that one area right there, but I did manage to get it to work after a couple of times, and now we can emboss with it, which if you've watched my videos in the past, you know this is my favorite technique ever. I absolutely love watching embossing powder melt. But do you see how chunky this powder is? It's perfect for this stamp because it's such a fat design. It's going to look so cool. I mean, it looks cool like this, and it looks even better once it's heat set. So I'm just dumping this back into my little container. I think I've already used a full jar of this, and if you use embossing powder, you know how long it takes to get through a jar. But I think that this is my second one because I'm so crazy about this stuff. I hope I can still find it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to make it myself. So here's my heat tool, and you can see the absolute glorious magic that's happening as it melts. Look at how shiny and beautiful it is. It's not glossy the way some embossing powders are once it's melted, but it's very metallic. And once it's all done, I'm going to bring it up close to the camera so that you can see all of the different colors that are happening in there because it really is quite beautiful. I love this stuff. I might have used it in some videos before, I don't recall, but I've used it a bajillion times on my blog for sure. And again, I just love watching it. So I left this whole part in because maybe you're like me and you enjoy watching embossing powder melt also. So we're just about done here. A couple of other spots that I just have to kind of make sure are set. Turn that off and look at those colors. Do you see that? Look at the copper and the gold. It's all melted together. It's just beautiful. I love it. So there's that 80 again. It's such a good font, that Quick Cuts die set. I really do like it very much. So now I decided I wanted to put it down there in the lower right corner. I didn't want to hide any of the streamers at the top. I didn't want it to kind of take away. And it's not quite big enough to be like a focal point in the center, I don't think. So I thought that the lower right corner was the perfect spot. So now I'm just using Barely Arts glue to adhere it. And I've got a heavy crystal block that I put on top of it to weigh it down while that glue dries. And now while that's drying, I've got some card bling from A Colorful Life Designs. This is Luminous White, love that one, Satin Matte Silver, and Satin Matte Gold. And we are going to use all three of those for our shaker. I've got some acetate. This is leftover. If you watched my video last week, I made a shaker card. This is the other side of that acetate. So definitely make sure you save those pieces because they can definitely be used if you're into making shakers. So I've got my tear it tape from Imagine. I love this tape. It tears so easily. The release paper comes up really nicely. You can emboss it. It's great stuff. I've got that white piece of paper there only because we're working on black cardstock and it's tricky to see in the video. So I just wanted to make it a little easier for you to see here. So if you haven't used this tape before, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really great one. I've used a lot of tapes like this in the past, and this is definitely my favorite one. So now we're going to build our shaker pocket. So we've got to remove the release paper from 3 of the sides, and you want to make sure that as you do this, you are not making the acetate so tight that it's going to make your cardstock buckle. You don't want to do that because then it's going to be a little trickier to glue it down and it's just not going to look as good. So you want to pull it tight enough where it creates a nice seal around the cardstock, but you don't want to make it so tight that it's going to buckle. A little bit is okay, but you don't want to have a crazy buckle. So I'm removing the paper on 3 sides, like I said, and I'm folding it over just like you would a birthday gift, like if you're wrapping a present. And you're just going to cut off those extra little pieces that kind of flip up. And now we have our pocket. So leave the top open and then you can start adding your sequins. I love the sequins from A Colorful Life Designs. There's, I believe, over 100 colors now. And Alison is making a mess already. Good thing for that little white piece of paper there. It's better to pour it from the back side, in my opinion. And if you have like a triangle, those little triangle bowls that are for gems and sequins and whatnot, those are really helpful too. I just, for some reason, didn't grab it today. Anyway, the sequins from A Colorful Life Designs is all the confetti style sequins, meaning that there's no hole and it's pretty flat, which is fantastic. I love using them and you can make such fun combinations. So now I'm shaking it around to make sure that I have enough. Of course, I spilled some and then I decide, well, all of this stuff that I spilled already, I'm going to just pop into the shaker. So that's what I'm doing now. And what I should have done probably is just folded the piece of paper over and poured it in that way. But, you know, I like to make things difficult for myself sometimes, so why not? So now I've got that last piece of tear it tape at the top. I'm removing that release paper and we're going to just fold that over and then cut off those extra bits that we have hanging out over there. This is such a great way to make a shaker, especially if you're just starting out. They stay nice and flat. You don't need foam tape, which can be costly. You're just using leftover packaging if you want. And I think it came out so cute. It's I don't want to say cute. Cute's not the right word, guys. It's elegant and festive. You know, it's fun. It's great for pretty much anyone. And, you know, you don't have to go with these metallic colors if you don't want to. You can do pink, red, and blue or yellow and green and orange or whatever. Just you can customize it however you want. You can use whatever numbers you want in the corner, if you want numbers at all. That Streamers stamp set is really perfect for a celebratory card, and turning it into a shaker just makes it even more fun. So I'm using some black cardstock for my card base, and I'm just going to shake it around because it's fun. But I don't like to leave the inside of a card all black, especially if it's something that I'm making for someone else. As this is a custom piece that a friend asked me to make. So I cut a piece of white cardstock. This is just a lightweight cardstock. It's not anything that I'd use for a base. I believe it's 65 pounds. You can use whatever you've got. It doesn't have to be white. It could be just a pale color. But I want to give them a space where they can write something easily and not have to have a specialty pen or marker if you know, as if they were writing on black. So white is a good way to go. You can use ivory, cream, whatever. I have the Birthday Blooms stamp set from the Greetery. I use this a ton for birthday cards. It's just a beautiful set. I don't use the flowers too much, but the sentiments, I love the fonts that they used. So this is definitely a favorite. I love it. And I have the coordinating dies, but in this case, we're just stamping it on the inside, so there's really no reason to die cut anything. So I'm making sure that that's nice and centered. It's lined up well. You could see I'm checking my little lines on my grid there. And now I have VersaFine Clair in Nocturne, which is my favorite black ink ever. And I'm going to stamp that a couple of times on the white piece of paper. Now you'll notice that I didn't attach it to the card yet because, you know, oopsies happen. And if I made a mistake, then I don't want to have it attached to the card that we've already worked so hard on. So we'll attach it afterwards. So I'm just stamping it again. It came out pretty crisp, but, you know, it's always good to do it twice. And now that looks really good. See how pretty that font is? It's just lovely. It works for so many folks, you know. All right, so now we're going to just adhere it. I've got my Barely Arts glue again, and we're going to just stick that bad boy on the inside, shake it around a little bit more, and the card is done. Customize this however you want. Change the numbers, change the interior font if you'd like, change, you know, the sequin colors, but it's so easy if you use this kind of format for a birthday card. It works out great. I love it. I think it's so fun. So that's it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed this card. I will be back very soon with another. Hope you learned a couple of things. Let me know in the comments what you like about this card, and I will see you all next time. Be well, stay safe. Peace out.